the Primitive Patterns Podcast. It's time to live your mystery. All right, welcome back to the Primitive Patterns Podcast. The boys are up early this morning. It's about, what time is it, 5:20 a.m.?
A little 5 a.m. podcast for
Yeah,
the boys.
Yeah, missed our weekly podcast time yesterday, so had to make up for it. Today we're going to talk a little bit about stress, some of the effects it has on the body, maybe some ways to mitigate it. This feels like a pretty stress-free morning though, eh, boys? What do you guys think?
We're feeling pretty good. We got our best buddy Coles's Jack and Jill this weekend. The boys are performing, so fun weekend ahead. Beautiful morning out there. I'm feeling good.
Feeling great, buddy.
Awesome. So I know, Luker, you kind of came up with the idea to talk about stress today. So I'm hoping maybe you can lead us off in the direction that you kind of wanted to go with today's epi.
Yeah, the direction to lead off is just, I think stress is a word that gets thrown out all the time. I know we've had this talk with a lot of people before, but it's like if someone just said the word math to you. And I mean, math has no meaning until you understand division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, the list goes on. There's a lot of tools within the word math that allow you to actually manipulate numbers and do something with them. And I think when we hear the word stress, if we just hear the word and we don't actually understand the physiology behind it, what it does to the mind, what it does to the body, and what it does to our capacity to connect with people, then it's just a word, oh, I'm stressed, but what is that? So I think just kind of getting in today a little bit about what actually happens to the body and the mind when there is stress. And then also why stress is a good thing, why stress is a bad thing, things you can do that are good hermetic stressors, however the fuck people say that are positive stress, and then things that are actually negative stress. So I'll pass it off to either one of you.
Well, no, I was just going to say maybe give our listeners a bit of an example of some ways that stress can be positive, because I think most of the time people kind of correlate the term stress as just always being negative. But what are still some forms of stress that are positive and can actually benefit you, but still add to that cumulative total of your stress load throughout the day?
Yeah, I think for people, when you can start to realize that anything that adapts needs to be stressed. So in order for an adaptation to occur, there needs to be a stressor. So if you're trying to learn a new language, you're trying to learn an instrument, you're trying to push your business to a new level, you're having a hard workout, these are all stimuluses that are giving you stress. And if you continue to work through it, you'll adapt. And that's what life's about. If you're never adapting to anything, your mind, your body, your life's becoming stagnant. And then that's going to lead to a whole host of other mental health issues. I think for people just to realize that a lot of what you do to become a better person is going to be stressful to some extent, and you actually need that stress for growth. So realizing that anything you want to learn, anything you want to do, it's going to come with stress. And then it's just managing your total stress load so that you're not overstressing the system over time.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing that people should really take note on is stress is a good thing. It can also be a very bad thing, but it's more about how you deal with it. And I know for me, for example, working out is a stressor on the body, but when I feel stressed out and I feel uptight, I use exercise as a way to at least make myself feel like I'm lowering my stress, even though it is still a form of stress on the body. But that can also be done through breath work, meditation, that type of stuff. What are some of Josh or maybe you, what are some of your favorite ways to manage your stress?
Yeah, I was going to touch on that about you saying I know working out is a stress, but when I do it, or if I am stressed, I get a good workout and it makes me feel better. I feel like there's some people in that quote unquote stress coaching space or whatever you want to call it that would say, there comes a time where if you are chronically stressed, maybe hitting that hard workout isn't a great idea, which I would agree with but I think that scenario is very few and far between. I think to ever deny somebody, no, you shouldn't go move your body and work out, whether they're chronically not sleeping, chronically stressed. It's what else are they going to be doing during that hour that's going to be better for them? Because the barrier to entry is a lot lower for a workout than it is for like a quality meditation, say. You know, like if you haven't ever meditated, good luck trying to lay down for an hour and meditate, you know? But even if you're not a proficient fitness person, like you don't really know what you're doing in the gym, but you feel like you just need to go in there and get a sweat in, most people can do that. And for the most part, it's probably going to be really good for you. So in my opinion, at least, I'm not saying that this is like factual, but my opinion on it would be like, yeah, working out is stress, but very seldomly would I tell somebody not to do it because they're already chronically stressed.
Yeah, the only thing I would do is I would never tell someone don't work out, but I would definitely change the dose or the prescription of how, like, let's say someone
Sure.
is chronically stressed, like they're kind of right at that line where they're about to flip their lid almost every day, and they're going to an hour CrossFit class, high intensity every day, right after work, no breath work. Like for me, if someone was really stressed, I'd be like, listen, we're going to do some low grade aerobic work. We're going to move some weights. We're going to sweat. We're still going to feel good and get the stimulus of exercise. And we're going to lay down and breathe for 5 to 10 minutes before you walk out the door. So I think it's just managing the person and managing the stress load, not taking away the stressor completely.
Which is a good contradiction to what I said, because that's so true. Like I've personally seen it with people that have come into the gym and for whatever reason, like lifestyle factors, whatever, they're chronically stressed. You can tell that they're chronically stressed, you know, with like the shape that their body has taken or the mood that they walk into the gym with day in, day out. Typically, those are the people that it's like, oh, we just did RDLs like we have every other week and somehow you threw your back out. Or, you know, like those like little injuries pop up. Or like you said, if you are at that chronic stress level and then you do throw yourself into, you know, a heavy deadlift or a very intense or very, very voluminous CrossFit class or something, like, yeah, you're right. Then there comes a point where, you know, you do have to manage the way you are exercising if that is the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to stress, like what do you think, Luker? This might be a better question for you, but what are some ways that people don't even like realize that stress is accumulating throughout their day to day, and they're kind of just like moving through life, and obviously they have like their big rocks in terms of their stress. So maybe financially they're not where they want to be, or maybe they have issues going on in their family. But what are some like hidden stressors or things that people might not even realize are contributing to the overall stress load throughout the day? Like if you can think of any right now.
Yeah. So when you look at stress, you have like, let's talk, there's the emotional stuff, there's the financial stuff, and those are all like, I'd say like big and out there. People are generally aware like, oh, like emotionally, I'm really stressed about X situation. Financially, I'm stressed about this. But I think the little ones that really just creep up and slowly add to that total stress load and put the body into a heightened state of stress every day without really any like awareness of it. One is food intolerance. Like a lot of people just eat food that doesn't sit well with their body, and it's increasing inflammation. It's increasing like poor thinking, and it's just leading to really, really increases in stress there. I think secondly, a big one that I think people are starting to become aware of, but it's still like minimal, is pre-bedtime routine. So not just like, oh, I went to bed at 10 p.m., but like, what time did I stop eating dinner? Did I lay on my phone while I was in bed? Did I send out a stressful email before going to bed? I think those two are like the really silent ones that creep slowly, and then they just heighten everything else. So if your nutrition's way off and if your sleep's way off, and now you are dealing with a hard emotionally charged conversation, or you are dealing with a financial stress or a business stress, it's just going to make those, they're going to be perceived to be higher stress because your physiology is already so dysregulated from the sleep and the food.
Yeah. I think that's a huge point. I think another one too is also overbreathing. One where you want to talk about, like, people might understand or like realize that they have a food intolerance, even if they don't view it as like a food intolerance. They just know, oh, when I eat a bowl of ice cream, my stomach hates me for the next 24 hours. Like maybe they aren't like tapped into being like, oh, that's a food intolerance, I shouldn't be eating that, but intuitively they would know. But overbreathing is kind of one of those things where it's like, if you are somebody that's chronically been overbreathing for your whole life, and by overbreathing, really, I'm just saying like mouth breathing. Like if I were to just sit here and be like that's overbreathing like all day. That's one where it's like you might have literally zero idea that is causing a heightened state in your body. And I think a lot of the time, like overbreathing can be a product of eating foods that you shouldn't be eating, not exercising enough. So just like generally living an unhealthy lifestyle, which probably means that all those other factors are also going to be just really stressing you the fuck out.
And you want to talk about a low barrier to entry, like just shut your mouth.
Yeah.
That's it. Like really, like you said, the food could be playing a role. It's a two-way street. It's like, is the stress in your life causing the overbreathing? Is the overbreathing something that's contributing to the overall stress?
Generally, they're
probably
just both
is
feeding into each other, right?
They're both feeding into each other, but it's like, just literally be aware of it and shut your mouth for the most part. Or like when you go have those little spurts throughout the day where you're like, I'm going to go on that 20-minute walk and I'm going to consciously nasal breathe for those 20 minutes. Because I think those micro sessions of like, it's like when somebody says, oh, fix your posture, so you should just like sit up straight all the time, which there's an argument there to say if that's even good posture, but it's like, that's not going to happen. You're going to sit up straight for 3 minutes and then you're going to find yourself slouching again. And the same thing's going to happen to your breath. But if you go to the gym and you lift some weights properly, over time, those sessions are probably going to aid in helping your posture. I think the same goes for breath. Like go for that 20-minute walk with your mouth closed. Hop on the bike with your mouth closed. Do that 20-minute meditation, nasal breathing, like hit those micro sessions to help that issue.
And like one thing that I've really kind of not shifted my perspective on, but like brought into my awareness more and I'm leaning into when it comes to stress is a lot of times online you hear people talk like what we're talking about, like all the things you can do to mitigate and manage stress. And I think that's super important. But I think the reason that it's as important as it is gets overlooked. And I think that's your capacity to connect with people and have deep relationships. Because when you're in a heightened sympathetic state all the time, one, it's very hard to connect with yourself and to know what you want out of life. And then two, it's even harder to have the capacity to be there for other people or to connect deeply because you are just at your edge. And so there's no capacity for connection. And I think you see that in our culture. It's like you have so many people that are running these heightened sympathetic states, not managing state whatsoever. And it's hard for them to connect with their wife. It's hard for them to connect with their kids. There's fighting between siblings, this, that, and the other thing. And I think at the end of the day, a lot of it does boil down to individuals not managing their state and therefore giving up their capacity to connect.
Yeah. I think one thing that is important for people to hear on that note, and this is just like my opinion on it, but when you're saying like you need to forge deeper relationships and you need to try to connect with people better, I think that's a relative thing, right? So I don't think like we're not saying that you need the picture perfect marriage, the picture perfect relationship with your siblings, and you need to be this like vibrant human that's just connecting with everybody and your relationships. But it's about making an effort to make your relationships in your life better relative to where they're at now. Because I think even just doing that, so we're not talking perfect relationships with people, but relatively better than where they're currently at is just going to make you feel so much better.
I know, but what I'm saying on that note is that your relationships being better with people is like, you've heard so many people say it over time, but it is so true. It starts with your relationship to self.
Yeah. 100%.
And that relationship to self is managing your state, because when that state isn't managed, like you're not going to be able to connect with people the way that you would want to.
Yeah.
Like,
and managing your state, I think is one way of saying it. I think another way of saying it is just having a high level of self-respect. So, and that comes with eating properly, moving your body, like taking good care of yourself. if you're not able to take good care of yourself and feel good in who you are, how are you supposed to have a good relationship with somebody else? And
What I'm saying though is sometimes it's hard to eat those healthy foods and move your body consistently and do the things that are going to help you be in that good state if you're not dealing with stress and if you don't have a system in place to help you deal with that.
yeah,
Think about how you feel when you're sick. You know, like when you're literally sick. That's how most people are sick. Most people are, you know, in the city, bam, bam, laying on the horn, fuck you, asshole. Like they're up here, right? And think about how you feel when you're laying on the couch, like dying. Like how much capacity do you have to have a solid 20-minute conversation with me, to make an effort to connect with your buddies, to make an effort at work?
Yeah.
Like you can't do any of that because of the way you feel. And most people are living in a state of just like, I don't know, a better way to put it. Most people are just living in a state of sickness. You know, if you're eating like shit, if you're not moving your body, if you're living in an environment that's not conducive to like you just being able to actually be able to take a deep breath and down regulate. You know, you're living in a box in a condo in the city with horns all around you. Like, not saying that's everybody, but that's a lot of people.
yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, how do you like navigate that, you know?
Yeah. One thing I wanted to go back to with what you said was what we were just talking about, how you were like, oh, yeah, it's tough to like do the healthy things, like eat, move, if you don't have a system in place to manage your stress. Give people an example of that, because I think sometimes if somebody hears that, it's like, oh, well, I thought that eating right, moving my body, and sleeping properly was my system to manage my stress.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying, oh, you need a system in place in order to make those habits a little bit easier. So give people an example of like what you're talking about.
Okay, like one of the easiest ones, and like I'll say the easiest system, and something I've implemented with a lot of people and found that it's helped a lot, is just mini down regulations. So like say you've taken 3 sales calls and the next thing you're going to do is drive your kids somewhere. Take literally 3 minutes, close your eyes, inhale deeply for 6 seconds, exhale deeply for 6 seconds. And I always use the analogy, it's like if you were in your car and you just had the pedal to the metal for like 5 miles straight, probably something's going to go wrong with that car. But if you go pedal to the metal for half a mile and then you just take your foot off the gas and you let the car cool down and chill, you can probably pin that next half mile again and have no issues.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying there needs to be a system where people are regulating, understanding, oh, I am in a heightened state, I am stressed. Okay, I'm going to bring it down a bit, now on to the next thing. Because I think that's vital. Because I think, say you get home and it's been a crazy day at work, kids are going crazy, there's a million things going on, and you haven't taken any time to down regulate before stepping into that environment, it's going to be really easy to eat like shit.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've calmed down and got your nervous system into a better place, it's going to be a lot more of an easy choice to be like, oh, I'm going to grab that healthy thing and eat it because I feel good internally.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think it's like a chicken or the egg situation with like, is it the healthy habits that will allow you to have the mindset to be able to breathe, or is it the breathing that's going to allow you to have the healthy habits? I think it's just like both have to go hand in hand, because healthy habits, if you're not in them, are difficult to start, right? So like making sure that you're creating a frictionless environment in your house by not buying shit food and just having healthy food available. Then it's like, okay, well, even if I don't do my breath work and I get home and my kids are pissing me off, well, I only have apples and high quality grass-fed beef jerky in the fridge as a snack. So I guess that's all I can have, right? But I think you're right. Like I've experienced that in the past too, like coming home after a long day, whether it's like working out, like just a busy as fuck day, and just like reaching for something if it's available in my house as I'm cooking dinner, which I really don't need, is a lot easier when you're in that type of state. But yeah, I think having like systems like you said, breath work and all that, but also not underplaying the fact that sometimes those healthy habits, you just have to fucking do them. And people are like, I find oftentimes looking for something like, oh, maybe this breath work will make the healthy habits easier, or maybe doing this 30-minute HIIT workout by this chick online is going to be the thing that gets me being active every single day and brings me this level of fitness that I've always dreamed of. It's like, no, it's just going to be difficult. And people have to realize that, like, having an exercise routine, eating healthy, going to bed at the right time. Those things are going to be hard if you're not doing them. So just kind of accept that fact, and then have a system in place that can just down regulate you, so you can go into everything that you're doing with a clear headspace. Like, oh, okay, I'm not going to reach for the can of fucking whipped cream. I'm going to grab an apple.
Thing is, what you said there too, though, like, and people can experience this when they make the shift. It's hard for a short amount of time. And then not only is it easy, but it's what you crave and want. Like eating healthy food and going to bed at a good time and doing some breathing practices every day. That's actually such a natural, fucking amazing feeling for you. And when you get in rhythm of that, staying in that rhythm is like, it's actually so hard to not stay in rhythm because of how good you feel doing it.
Yeah, I talk to that with my clients a lot when they're going on a vacation. And I'm sure we've all heard it. Like, you work with a client for X amount of months, they make good progress, and then they are planning a trip somewhere, and they're like, oh, I just really hope that all my habits I don't lose all my momentum, because I'm going to go away and kind of treat my body like shit for 2 weeks. When we go away to like Central America, the habits that we do back home, working out, being outside, eating healthy, they're just like elevated when we go there. And that's what we do day to day, because you just feel best doing those things. So I think that would be a good goal for a lot of people, is like getting yourself to a point where, and it will take time, but you're so ingrained in those habits and you realize how good you feel that when you go away on your next vacation, doing those healthy things is just what you want to do.
Yeah, just bringing some awareness into your life, because like you said, as natural as it is for us to be fully aware of how we feel and knowing how good we feel, it's like people also thrive on stress. Like there's so many people that go a 30-year career, thinking at least that they're thriving on stress, where like, imagine I just laid down, I did a 5-minute meditation, and you come into the house, you're all charged up because you've done X, Y, and Z today, and you come charging in the house, and I get up from that meditation, and I'm like, whoa, Jaker, relax, dude, chill. You probably didn't even notice that state that you were in. And most people are just living in that state. So, for you, it's natural to be aware of how you feel when you're doing those good things. For those people, it's natural to feel heightened all the time and not even have a second thought about it. Yeah. So like Luke said, having those, I think he's right, like having those micro sessions, if nothing else, to bring awareness into like, okay, that's how it feels.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how I should feel.
Yeah, like that's, like if you have a mom that has 4 kids that's running around, that just got home from work, that had to cook dinner and go to soccer, and she's buzzing around, and then she takes those 2 minutes, like Luke said, it doesn't have to be long, to just lay down and chill. If nothing else, that brings into awareness, like, holy shit, I was just heightened there. And I still need to do all these things. I'm a mother of 3 kids that, has obligations, but at least now I'm aware of the state that I was in when I walked through the door. Whereas if I didn't take those 2 minutes to just like give myself that time for me, you would never even have that awareness of the state that you're in. And most people live in that state all the time, right?
Yeah. Good episode, boys. If you're listening to the podcast, take a big deep breath before you get your day started, or if it's at the end of your day, take a big deep breath, have a little breath work meditation, chill out. We'll see you guys on the next epi.
Adios.
The Primitive Patterns Podcast. It's time to live your mystery.